Hi children and young people, and welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today I want to talk to you about getting the full picture, like the full shebang on stuff. We've sort of talked a little bit about this before, but there was just this really good example of it that cropped up in my own life today. Something that made me want to ask more questions and look behind the scenes. And I think this is really important, not just for our personal relationships, but also because we are so bombarded with information. Like, you got stuff flashing up on your phone from Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat and maybe some news things that you might be subscribed to. And sometimes, even with really reliable information sources, there is information that is missing that would maybe change your perspective on things in quite a wild and drastic way. So here's what happened to me today. I was on Facebook scrolling through, just kind of catching up with life, and there was an article that one of my Facebook friends had posted, which referred to an incident where an elderly gentleman had been shoved off of a bus by a fellow passenger, and he was so badly injured that unfortunately he passed away. Now, the Facebook friend who had republished this story had made a reference to the behaviour of the person who had done the shoving, and had said some really really harsh things about this woman and how she should now be treated because of what she did. Now, I don't know, I genuinely do not know the circumstances that were surrounding that incident or that lady, which is why, for me, I'm not going to jump in and say, well, she deserves this and she should go to the fiery burning pit of hell, or she deserves to go to prison for the rest of her life, or she deserves to be executed for this, which was kind of where this woman was going with it. And for that reason, I don't kind of jump in until I know more, because, and as I say, I don't know this story, but I'm just giving you a for example. For example, this woman might have a really severe mental health problem. This woman might have been abused by someone who looked like that man and just have had an extreme reaction to it. Have you all seen the penultimate episode of Game of Thrones? I mean, you might not be old enough to watch Game of Thrones, but if you are old enough to be watching Game of Thrones, and I suspect a lot of you have watched it, you will have seen Khaleesi on a dragon tearing up the Red Keep and all of the area surrounding it after the bells had started ringing to say that they surrendered. So the people had surrendered, but she destroyed them anyway. Now, here's what's maybe behind that. What's maybe behind that is that her friend was killed by Cersei. What's maybe behind that is that she had a very several traumatic incidents even prior to that. Like, forget the fact that she wants power and she wants to be the one true queen. Forget that for a minute. I can't believe I'm using Game of Thrones as an example, but forget that stuff. She was married to someone who she wasn't, in the beginning, she was not in love with. Prior to that, her brother had tried to sell her. Prior to that, her brother was abusive to her. Prior to that, her nice brother died. All of those different events that have happened in her life have built up and led to this scenario where they're at war, the other side have surrendered, but she still goes and kills them anyway. Now, if we took that incident in isolation and said, she has just really messed up, she has killed all of these innocent people just because she's a terrible person, it makes it very easy for us to, it's nice and easy to conclude that. We go, right, cut and dry, she's a terrible person, next. and we can all just move on. But when you put all of the backstory in there, it's a bit more muddy, it's a bit foggier, and you start to realise that, you know, perhaps other events have led to her making the decisions that she makes now. And the same thing applies to you when you are interacting with other people who are problematic in some way. You know, maybe they seem to have said something bad about you. Maybe they seem to have reacted badly towards you. Maybe they appear to be two-faced. There's probably more to it than it being a cut and dry, straightforward case, as Khaleesi has proven to us. So, what's my advice? My advice is dig for the facts. Find out what's going on behind it. People are presenting something to you. If you react based on their presentation, you are only taking one dimension into consideration. You need to ask more questions and go on what's behind that. How did you get there with your thinking, with your reaction? What's the history on this? We might need to go really far back to be able to get all of the information that is required. There's a television show which I really like to watch, but I think all the episodes now are on YouTube, and it's called Seconds from Disaster. And I mean, I like watching disaster stuff for some reason. Don't like drama in real life, love a bit of drama on the television. And in Seconds from Disaster, there will be like some disastrous event that happens, but there's never one thing that causes the disaster. It's a series of catastrophic events. So one person says one thing and it gets misinterpreted, and then someone does something and then it gets forgotten about and it was really important, and then someone, you know, puts something in place but it was the wrong thing, and all of these things end up building up to the disaster. And that's very often how it works when we're having disasters in our communication. It's not one thing that has caused it. It's all of the stuff that's gone historically before that. It's all of the emotions that are behind that, which might be fueled by stuff that has nothing whatsoever to do with you. If we want to communicate with people better, we've got to get better at understanding people and how they operate. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to ask more questions. And that means that we can't be lazy, and it means that we will be annoying, but it also means that we're going to be operating from a more honest playing field, because we're going to be more able to establish what's really going on for someone in their mind when they say and do the things that they say and do, which might feel really aggravating to us in some way. So my message to you this month is ask more questions, and that is it. That was a really long way to just say ask. I should have just said that at the very beginning, to be quite honest. But anyway, here we are. You got all of the other waffle about Khaleesi in between time. Enjoy the very last episode of Game of Thrones if you are indeed watching it. Thank you so much for watching this particular video today. Make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to our channel by clicking the red subscribe button. Click the thumbs up for my Game of Thrones knowledge. Ring the bell to make sure that you get notified the next time we upload a video, and we will see you on all of our social media channels, which will be listed in the description box below. But for now, thank you so much for watching and listening, and I will see you in our next video. Bye! This company's Ow! She clumsy. This is a good one, people. I'm going to stick my notes here. I can't remember what I'm talking about.